Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff. Today with us, a fascinating woman. Her name, Sydney Park. Sydney is the 2022 Miss New York State and the third runner-up in the Miss America contest. She's been with us before, and she's back again to tell us all about the Miss America contest and now what she plans to do with her future life. Let's all welcome Sydney Park. And Sydney, it is such a joy to have you back with us. And Sydney, I want to start with you. And first, we know you're Miss New York State, and we know you won a big title in the Miss America contest. What was that like to actually compete for the title of Miss America?
It was so crazy. And that's probably the only word I can use to describe it, only because you hear about Miss America. She is such a legendary, iconic figure in American pop culture. We celebrated our 100th anniversary this year, and to take part in the celebration of that tradition was in and of itself an honor. To get to represent the great state of New York was even better for me. I just absolutely love everything about New York, and to wear it across my chest, proudly representing the state, was more than I could ever ask for. And to walk away as the third runner-up to Miss America was such a privilege and an honor. I won $15,000 for being third runner-up, and that was just an incredible, helpful thing for me as a law student.
Yes, and I want to talk more about the competition between the contestants. But before we do that, is the Miss America contest still just a beauty pageant, or has it really moved away from that? And for some reason, I think it's more now involved in training women to be future professionals, but I'm not involved with the contest. I want to hear from you.
Well, the motto of the Miss America organization is preparing great women for the world and preparing the world for great women. And I think it does an exceptional job of doing just that. So this is, above all else, a scholarship competition and a professional development program. We moved away from judging based solely on appearance. We got rid of bathing suit in 2018 and replaced it with the much more impactful social impact pitch, which requires candidates to spend 20 to 40 seconds, depending on the level, explaining what their community service work looks like and the type of community work that they're doing all year round. And it's a really exciting program for young women to be a part of, just because you develop so many professional skills that serve you long after you've given up your title and long after you've aged out of the program as well.
Now that you have this title of third runner-up in the Miss America contest and Miss New York State, is it going to help you with your future, just being involved? I know you're in law school, you have 1 year left. What about your future, and how does your involvement with this whole contest help your future?
Well, I will say that one of the most powerful pieces of being involved in the Miss America organization is the network. This is a 100-year-old organization, and there are women who have been involved and are in all different levels of their professional careers. And seeing the types of women that are involved, they are going to be so successful, and knowing that they are part of my network is a really incredible thing. I looked at the picture of the top 5 standing on stage, and we had a future dermatologist. We had a young woman who wants to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. We had a social worker who's in school right now to get her master's degree in social work, and I want to be a lawyer. And so right there, you already see the types of women that are getting involved in the Miss America organization. And so many of us are at the beginnings of our careers. So it's really exciting to be able to make friends at this point in their professional development, and know that 10 to 15 years down the line, we are going to have a really, really powerful group of women that we call friends and connections.
So you made a lot of friends, and you plan to keep those friends, correct?
Oh, definitely. One of my favorite stories is I was driving down rural Vermont roads one day, and it started snowing really heavily, and I actually lost control of my Jeep and went over into the side of the ditch and into a snowdrift. And I called Miss Vermont to ask if she could come help get me out of the ditch. And so Miss Vermont helped Miss New York get out of a snowdrift in rural Vermont. And it was just that kind of help that you're going to get from your friends and neighbors that are involved in Miss America. So I have friends who I will have for the rest of my life. And for that, I'm extremely grateful.
And why did you join the contest in the first place? Is this a situation where women want to hold a title, or what's the purpose now? Because you have a career that you're developing, and you're on a very strong career path without a title. What did you do it for?
That's a great question. I think a lot of women join the Miss America organization because of the scholarship opportunities. So far, since I started competing in 2019, I've made close to $30,000 that has all gone towards my law school education, which doesn't pay for all of it, but it is a substantial amount of money that has been able to help me pay for this degree. And so that's part of it. The other part of it that I really wanted to get involved was because of the fact that there are really amazing women that are a part of this organization. And it was a great way for me to make friends as a young woman. It was a great way for me to build network connections. I really think that that's one of the more or less spoken about positive benefits of the Miss America organization is the types of women that you'll meet and come across. It's just a really powerful network that you get to become a part of, whether or not you win a title. And I think that's a really important thing, especially for young women who are entering the workforce.
And do you think you learned certain skills, for example, public speaking or how to get on TV and make a great presentation through this contest, or not?
Oh, 100% I have. I think that's one of the other great things that's about being a part of Miss America is that you develop these professional skills that are going to help you later on in life, whether that's how you network effectively or how you public speak. I think that those are the types of things that we really need as young women to be able to use our voices in effective ways. And Miss America helps you develop your own personal voice. I think one of my favorite kind of anecdotes is that I can go to an event and sometimes I get tapped on the shoulder just to fill time and speak for 5 to 10 minutes. Other times I'm invited to give keynote addresses on topics that I may not originally be familiar with. And being able to handle those opportunities in a way that makes most sense for me is such an incredible skill to build. And one of my favorite things that came out of Miss America was that lawyers that I am going to work with after I graduate at the firm that I'm planning on working for in the fall, they actually texted me after the competition and were impressed with my ability to convey ideas effectively and efficiently on stage. And they said that my public speaking skills were something that they haven't seen from a young attorney in a while. And that was just such a great compliment to come from other people in the field of the work that I'm planning on doing.
Well, no question, public speaking skills are key for strong futures in business and law and government and almost in any single career for just about everyone. And so I often say to young people, work on your public speaking skills because it's going to be very important for your future and for your success moving forward. Now, what about the actual competition? Because people like to talk and they like to chat. And so you hear things like, oh, I wonder if there are cat fights going on backstage and whether the women get nasty to one another. And if somebody loses, if she bursts into tears and if there's a whole lot of drama and what exactly goes on behind the scenes during the competition, and does that happen? Are there cat fights? Are there emotional outbreaks? And what goes on?
Well, one of the great things that I experienced at Miss America was just the camaraderie of it with all of my fellow Miss America title holders. It was really just a fun time. None of us fought. There was nothing like that. And I know a lot of people like to have their imaginations go wild with the thought of women ripping each other's dresses and things like that. But that's really not what happened at Miss America. What really happened was a lot of women coming together to celebrate each other and their successes. One of my favorite things about it is the people who greet you as soon as you come off the stage, whether you did amazingly or whether you did really poorly or you weren't happy with how you did. They give you a hug, they hold you, they console you. And that's the type of support you want, because yes, this is a competition, but we remember at the end of the day that only one woman walks away as Miss America. At a state competition, only one woman walks away with that state crown. So it's really important to build those friendships up, because you have the opportunity to walk away with 50 other friends. And even if you don't walk away with the title, it's that network, that friendship is so much more valuable, in my opinion.
And having been in this competition and now holding the reigning title of Miss New York State and then third runner-up in the Miss America contest, is that something that you think really helps you on your resume and will always help you in the future when you go to look for a new job?
I sure hope so. But I think beyond just the title itself that will help me, I think it's really the skills that I developed through this program. And I will never stop talking about how beneficial being a part of the Miss America organization has been for me, both personally and professionally. I think that the skills that you develop by being a title holder, being involved, learning from other title holders around you, and learning from the women who've gone through this organization, those are the types of skills that are going to set you apart from all of your other candidates for other jobs. A great story is that the reason I was able to get a job at the law firm that I'm working at is through the Miss New York organization. I had a friend who was a lawyer at this firm, and it is through that connection I was able to get an interview earlier than anyone else. And so really, I have to thank my future career and my future job offer. I have to thank the Miss New York organization for that.
And that's very good to know. Now, you are planning to be a lawyer and you have a big job at a law firm in New York City. What kind of law are you going to practice?
Well, I love talking and I love writing and I love arguing. So I am hoping to be a litigator in the commercial space and really working with companies and large firms and things like that to be able to litigate some of their more complicated and complex legal issues. So I'm really excited to have that opportunity at the firm that I'll be working at and to be able to try out a lot of different practice areas as well. Because I think as young lawyers and young attorneys, it's really important to try and learn a lot of new things to really figure out what your niche is and where your interests lie.
Interesting. And what about giving back to the Miss America contest or to the organization? You've gained a lot from them and you will continue to gain a lot from them. How can you help them now that you've had this title? Of course, you can take interviews with people like me. You can talk about how great an experience it was, but what else might you be able to do?
Well, there are a few different ways that I plan on giving back and that I encourage other people to give back. The first primarily being financially benefiting the organization. I know that I'm already in talks with the organization to establish a scholarship in my name for one of the awards and one of the candidates to receive at Miss New York this year. And I will continue to do that for the foreseeable future, so long as I'm able to. And then besides that, volunteering my time, I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to volunteer your time just as much as it is to donate financially. And so giving my time and being able to help with just organizing events, being able to send out press releases, draft other things like that, I think that's a really important way to give back to the organization and continuing to talk about how impactful it has been throughout all the course of my life. When I am a second year, third year attorney at a big firm, I'll still be talking about how impactful Miss New York has been on my life. And I hope that perhaps another attorney I work with, she'll get her daughter involved or something like that, because I think growing the organization organically is going to be so important as we enter into the next 100 years of Miss America.
Now, changing the subject, what about your social life? Has this interfered with your social life, or do you think it's going to help it? Are more people interested in getting to know who you are?
I have more friends now than I have ever had in my life, which is so exciting to be able to have the caliber of friends that I have from all across the country, which is great. I think my social life has greatly improved by virtue of the Miss New York organization. I don't think one of my favorite choice or chance encounters that I've ever had with meeting Martha Stewart at a show and meeting her grandchildren. That was so exciting for me. And I would have never had that opportunity had it not been for the Miss New York organization.
Very interesting. And Martha Stewart is indeed a very interesting woman. And I've had the occasion to meet her many times. And now for our audience, we are with Sydney Park. She is the reigning Miss New York State. She is also the third runner-up in the the Miss America contest. She is a law student at Fordham University, about to begin an important career with a major law firm in New York City. And she's speaking about the contest and how the Miss America and the Miss New York State contests have really affected her future in a very positive way, and how those contests are no longer beauty contests, but really contests that help prepare women for their professional futures in law, in business, in social work, in medicine, in many different areas. And it's really very interesting to hear everything she's saying. And now we're going to switch a little bit to philanthropy, because Successful Philanthropy is a show about philanthropy. And as I say, any one of us can become a philanthropist. We become a philanthropist by giving our time, our knowledge, and available resources. And of course, if you don't have any financial resources right now to give, well, you give your time and your knowledge, you become a philanthropist. And for those who have a lot of resources, well, I believe you have an obligation, I have an obligation, we all have an obligation to do something to make this world a better place. And on that note, Sydney, I understand you do quite a bit of volunteer work outside of the Miss America contest. And you were speaking earlier to me about being a soccer coach. Can you tell our audience where you teach soccer and who is the constituency of your those that you help?
Of course. As part of my year as Miss New York, I undertake a social impact initiative, and mine is called One Team, Empowering Youth Through the Power of Sports. And so I have been coaching with South Bronx United since 2019 or 2018, actually, now that I think about it. And I coach in their recreational soccer program. I primarily with 8 to 11-year-old girls, which is really exciting. My team last fall was called Team Rings of Fire, which is a name they came up with all of themselves. And so primarily through South Bronx United, it serves the South Bronx community, which is just in the area around Yankee Stadium. And I've also had the opportunity to coach with Saturday Night Lights, which is a joint program between New York City Football Club and the Manhattan DA's office. Both programs serve kids in communities that really benefit from sports and having access to quality sports programs, and getting to see my girls come back practice after practice and year after year is a really exciting thing for me, because I just know that they are gaining a lot from playing soccer just as much as I'm gaining from coaching them.
You are one busy lady for sure. Between entering the Miss America contest to finishing up law school and then to helping out with the Miss America contest, their fundraising for scholarship, and then also to be a soccer coach in the South Bronx. Well, you are very, very busy. And as you look at your future, what exactly outside of law do you want to do? Do you see yourself getting involved on different charity boards? Do you see yourself maybe one day having a family? What are your interests outside of your future career?
Well, I sure hope one day to have my own family and maybe a daughter who gets involved in Miss America as well. But of course, I know that through my experience with Miss America and Miss New York, I've really developed my heart for service and the fact that I just really enjoy giving back to the communities that I'm a part of. So I'm really looking forward to when I'm in a position to give back in a lot of different ways to those causes and communities that I care deeply about.
And I think you're already giving back. And I want to thank you today for being on Successful Philanthropy and talking to our audience. Now, for the young people watching this show, people your age or maybe the teenagers watching, what advice do you give to them as they begin looking at different careers and trying to figure out what they want to do with their futures?
I think the best advice that I could give is the advice that I had a really hard time taking when I was a young person in college and thinking about what I wanted to do. And that's just to be open to opportunities and just allow yourself to be a little bit adventurous and be a little courageous. Sometimes the best path to success isn't the one you expect it to be. So be open to those unexpected opportunities because you never know where they might take you. You might just find yourself on the Miss America stage one day.
And what about hard work? You strike me as someone who is a very hard worker. And no question, if you want to be successful, well, you have to work at it. It just generally doesn't come for all our major football players, basketball players, all of our superior athletes. Well, they work very hard at all of this. And then if you want to build a career, I look at my people around me and I see they're working 24/7 continually. I'm a hard worker. I'm assuming you've had to be a hard worker. And so would you suggest hard work as well?
Definitely. Hard work has been the underpinning of most of my life, both of my parents, their parents. So my grandparents on both sides from my mom and my dad are both immigrants. My grandfather on my dad's side came from Korea and my grandfather on my mom's side came from Scotland. And so for them, hard work was always something that was incredibly important so that they could provide for their kids and for their grandkids the life that they always imagined. And so in honoring their sacrifice and the hard work that they did, I knew that I was destined to work hard. I knew that it was something that I always wanted to do to make sure that their sacrifices were honored and the things that they were willing to do for us.
Well, you very much fit into a category of the great American dream where you had immigrant parents who came to this country. They became successful and they raised, for sure, a very successful daughter. And another piece of advice that I like to give also is to follow a career path where you think you're going to one day be able to get a job. I remember a long, long time ago, well, I wanted to study psychology. And my dad said to me, well, Jean, if you get a college degree in psychology, unfortunately, there are no jobs right now. And then you'll have to go on and get a PhD, and maybe you won't want to do that when you graduate. So I looked at other career paths. And so my first career was as a physical therapist. I did that for 1 year. And that was right after college. And then I went back to Columbia University to the Graduate School of Business. And I got an MBA in finance. And then I went and worked on Wall Street. And as I look back, I know I didn't have much time to go out and have a lot of fun, but my education was truly instrumental in changing my life. And Sydney, for sure, your education has been instrumental in changing your life because now you're going to become a lawyer. But for those who maybe don't want to go to college, well, think about a trade school. Think about maybe going to become a plumber or electrician or go to beauty school or go to tech school. But get involved where you can learn a skill that you can profit from in the future. And I'm sure you agree with that, correct?
Definitely learn a skill that you'll be able to market and be able to market yourself, but make sure you're doing something that you love. And on speaking on trade schools and things, college isn't for everyone. So find what fits for you and what fits for your lifestyle.
No question. And then you see people like Mr. Bill Gates, who I don't believe he ever even finished college, but I consider him a great genius. And obviously he's a tremendous philanthropist. And he's also an extraordinarily successful businessman and one of the richest men in the world. So you never know. And as we close this show, Sydney, are there any few words that you want to leave our audience with?
The last few words I'd love to leave your audience with is if you're interested in learning more about Miss New York, you can find us online or on Instagram at Miss America NY. We will be crowning our next Miss New York at the end of May in Peekskill, New York. And if you're interested, you will have to come join us to find out who she will be.
Yes, and thank you. And what about if you want to donate to the scholarship program for Miss New York or for Miss America? Do you know the website?
If you would like to donate to the Miss New York Scholarship Fund and our scholarship organization, you can go to miss-newyork.org and click the donate button. And we would be grateful for any and all donations.
Well, thank you. That's very good information. And you never know who's watching, and you never know who might donate, and you never know who might be entering the contest in the future. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. Our guest today, Sydney Park. She is the reigning 2022 Miss New York State and the third runner-up in the Miss America contest. She's a lawyer, she's a young philanthropist, and a fascinating woman. I'm Jean Shafiroff, your host. I'll see you next week.